From an evolutionary point of view, do you think so many adult siblings have poor relationships? From talking to friends, it's much more common than I would expect. As a parent, it's very concerning. It is concerning. And my strong prediction is that this is a modern problem.
Mm-hmm.
That intact families, pre-industrial peoples didn't have this problem.
Well, let's separate it into two things. Our good friend who's just died, Bob Trivers, one of the things he's most famous for is the theory, it is now a theory, of parent-offspring conflict. And the long and short of it is, if you map the genetic relatedness of people within a family, you find that you can predict the level of discord and that there's a lot to be learned from it. So here are some things that are consistent with this. Adoptive families can be great. The thing that tends to compromise a family that adopts a child is the presence of a genetic child, right? So parents have a hard time overriding their understanding that this child is genetically mine and that one brought in with the best of intentions. That's interesting. You will find greater collaboration when the offspring in a family are full siblings, because half siblings are only half as closely related. This is an argument for monogamy, actually, a very strong one, is that the broods are better when they share both parents. The maladies that a mother experiences during pregnancy are explained almost entirely, maybe entirely, by the fact that the mother and offspring have a conflict of interest over how much resource the baby in utero should be loaded up with.
So just to take a super simple example, the mechanism is called genomic imprinting, by which the parental source of a particular allele has a different effect depending on if it came from mom or dad. So a maternally sourced allele for head size and a paternally sourced allele for head size in a human baby will, even if it's written the same way, will be imprinted maternally versus paternally and tend towards opposite things. That a mother wants a big-headed baby and that she wants a really smart kid, but the bigger-headed the baby, the more difficult and risky the childbirth. And the father also needs a mom to be around to take care of the baby, but is less concerned about the future fecundity of a woman, especially if he's not in a monogamous relationship with her. And so paternally imprinted genes tend to drive greedier babies in utero, and maternally imprinted genes tend to drive the sustainable growth of babies in utero that allow for future offspring as well.
Yep, that's true. It's also true that the mother has her parental resources, the optimal allocation is across her entire brood. Any individual baby is only 50% related to its full siblings and therefore has a different ideal amount of resource to be targeted to it. So there's that. There's the conflict over weaning. Anyway, all of these things derive from the same observation, which is that the interests of a family are not 100% aligned. So take that into modernity, and you've got a natural conflict between even full siblings over resources and attention delivered by their parents. So the children are wired to figure out how to play the family system to advantage. So they become developmentally trained in their relationship to their sibling, who they are probably less close than this was Heather's point. Under ancestral circumstances, your team, your family, is so important to your success that you have an interest in your siblings being very well off, because that empowers you too. And so you would expect the alignment to be profound. In modern times, that's much less true. The value of your sibling in the world, you may live thousands of miles from your sibling. And
well, and I think this is what I was going to say, actually. The fact of the dispersed nature of modern life means that you have not just opportunity to develop into wildly different people, but there's fewer contingencies that would bring you back together in a way that's dependent.
Yep.
And so for all of the reasons you expect to grow into different human beings, there does seem to often be a particular level of sort of volatility and even hostility between adult siblings, but this may emerge from you were as close as you could possibly be for some period, even if you never liked each other, which I think is rarely true, at least in closely spaced kids. But if you've come to live extraordinarily different lives, either because of happenstance or because the values that you have and the choices that you made, it can be, I think, easier to default into believing like you've made a choice that demonstrates that you are so different from me, even though we came from this utterly shared beginning. Like you might be able to be more forgiving of other people in the world because you can ascribe it to a different set of circumstances. And in the case of siblings who end up having very different lives, each of the siblings might say, I know, therefore, that you and I just don't have much in common anymore.
Yep. And I will add one more thing, which is people didn't used to be so screwed up.
Yeah.
Life made more sense. And so your developmental environment exposed you to a range of things that were enough to sort of train you to become functional as an adult. Number of adults who are wildly not functional in at least one regard is high.
Yeah.
So if you have two siblings, the chances that one of them is screwed up is pretty high, and that's abnormal. If you have more than one sibling, the chances go up. Each sibling you add, the chances that somebody isn't well structured for it is high, and that has, really nothing to do with siblings. The point is you're just talking about, what are the chances that this pair works? Well, if one of them screwed up, the chances are low.
Yep. I'm going to read some of the comments on this, and then I want to go back and read a couple of comments on your Uganda pun. We have in the third world, full sibling conflicts primarily center around parental property in their 40s and 50s. Most of them collaborate decently before that. Boomers seem to have better relationships here in the third world because they lived longer together, sometimes even after marriages and joint families. Someone agrees with my point that says also siblings expect better from each other than they do from, say, cousins or anyone else. So there's a higher expectation as well. And yeah, I guess whether or not it's happened yet or is impending, the idea of inheritance is obviously divisive in any family where the siblings, where the children have less than the parents did, and so stand to change their circumstances with inheritance.